Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Oxbridge Formula as we bring you the ultimate guide to studying the whole variety of STEM subjects at Oxford and at Cambridge. Today, we are delighted to have Kitty and Alex joining us, giving you a first-hand insight into the real experiences of a maths degree at Oxford. Now, please remember, our support doesn't stop here. If you're interested in applying to Oxbridge for a STEM subject, then look no further than our book, The Oxbridge Formula, and it will give you real in-depth information on every part of the process, from personal statements to admissions tests to interviews, and you can find it on Amazon right now, so go ahead. Anyway, Kitty and Alex, it's great to have you here today. Let's get to know you. At what colleges do you study maths, and for how long have you been doing your course? I don't know.
So I'm a first year, so I've just finished my first year last week, and I study at Somerville College.
And I'm also a first year maths studying at Somerville College.
Wow, so we've just finished. Okay, I wonder if you could perhaps sum up what were your first impressions when you started this course?
I think it was a big step up compared to A-level. I don't think you realise the workload and trying to figure out a new way of learning, because obviously lectures are very different from a normal kind of class style, and trying to get used to a new way of learning combined with a greater workload. But I think, although that's my first impression, I think you just slowly get used to it and are able to deal with it more effectively. So the first impressions don't really stay with me. At the end of the year, I have a very different kind of outlook on how this year went.
You feel different in retrospect, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is so friendly that you kind of get used to it over time. And in the tutors, you might first meet them and they seem a bit harsh, but actually when you get to know them, they're really nice and human people.
Yeah, that's important to remember. They are all human beings. They're not there to see you suffer. They're there to push you, I guess.
Yeah.
So Kitty, you mentioned this new way of thinking about maths. Is that why you chose to study it at a higher level at university, or?
Yeah, I think because it was my favourite subject in A-level, and it was the thing that I genuinely enjoyed. So I thought, that's probably going to be the thing that I'm going to be most motivated to work in, for the next 3 or 4 years at university completely. So that was kind of the main reason. Also, sounds a bit cynical, but I'm quite I was okay at school as well. So I thought, I would hopefully do a good job at uni.
And Alex, what about you? Did you always know that you were going to choose maths at uni?
I think I changed my mind every so often, but I think I enjoy maths. And again, like Kitty, it's the thing I was strong at, and maths was the reason why I liked things like physics and chemistry. So I might as well just stick with maths, and I'm really glad I chose it.
So did you do physics and chemistry at A-level then?
Yeah, further maths, physics, chemistry, a pretty standard choice.
It is standard. Kitty, what about you?
I only did 3, so I did maths, further maths, and physics.
Nice. So they're all pretty consistent. I guess it really helps. So that leads me on to asking you about kind of your admissions experiences. Did either of you get much support when kind of going from sixth form to applying to Oxbridge? Did you know which university to choose?
Not really. I kind of just used Google, to be honest, researching the colleges and different Oxford and Cambridge to choose on which one I'd rather apply to, and YouTube as well. I think just mainly online. My school, they helped a bit. They gave us websites to look at, but not kind of as well as they could.
Yeah, similar. I think just YouTube and Google. I think our teachers helped a little bit. They gave pointers, but I think they had different people. We had some ex-students come in and talk about what they did, but not a great deal, enough just to give me information.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? There's not a massive understanding in like state school systems, which I know you both said that that's kind of the background that you come from, like myself. And yeah, it's hard to find that kind of personal information a lot of the time. Like you just resort to Google or reading things. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because actually that's what we're trying to do. Obviously, that's why we're here today and sharing our experiences. So at the Oxbridge Formula, like we have online courses for your admissions test, like the MAT or the STEP or the CTMUA, and to make sure that you do score as high as you can, despite, you know, having various levels of support and help from where you come from. And we also offer like these live interactive courses in person or by video conferencing, for like interview prep and for subjects which include maths, like yourselves. And if you guys want to find out more, if you're watching, then there's a link in the description, so go check it out. Yeah, that sounds kind of good. I don't know, I wish that I'd been able to find more kind of interactive and kind of personal information before applying, because there is so much mystery just surrounding like the whole admissions process, which can be quite different to the reality. So like, what was the reality for you? Like when you guys came for interviews, I assume you interviewed at Somerville, right?
Yeah, so I applied to Somerville, so I didn't get like pulled before the interview, so I interviewed at Somerville.
Yeah, I think firstly, I think I found it a lot more friendly than I kind of expected. I kind of thought it would be a little more officious, but then the people were there. We played Jenga in the main course, at least before what had a film night and things. It was actually quite I mean, yeah, you are competing, but I think kinder than I necessarily, at least the staff and the other students were a lot nicer, I think, and obviously the helpers, I think, were really friendly.
Did you meet anyone who was like playing any mind games, like trying to be, as you say, competitive or trick you?
Not really. At least I think everyone at Somerville seemed reasonably kind, and I don't think I didn't meet anyone like that, thankfully.
Yes.
And Kitty, when you actually got into the interview, can you remember, does anything stand out to you, or is it just a blur?
I think like, I remember what happened. I was just trying to like, trying to make sure that I was like engaging enough with the interview, like always like saying what I was thinking. But so at the start of the interview, they asked us a question like about our personal statement, just kind of like to break the ice. And they kind of got into like the nitty gritty, like maths questions. And we weren't expected to know kind of, sorry, like what topic it was on. Like we weren't, they kind of taught us during the interview to make sure that we were teachable. Sorry. So yeah, we had, I think, I can't really remember what the exact questions were, but that's not important. We had, yeah, so just trying to like answering the questions and asking them questions as well. Like because sometimes that's what would happen in a tutorial, you're not going to kind of go through it completely blind.
The main strategy is just talk as much as you like, really. Just keep talking. I think that's what they want to hear, is how your brain works. Even if you have no idea, just keep saying, I don't know, I know this. Or even if you just figured out something completely irrelevant, just mention it. And just, I think even if you like solve the problem, if you don't say how you solved it and said 2 minutes in silence, that won't be as good as if you're slow at solving it, but you just keep talking, I think.
Yeah, I've heard like the worst thing to say really is to not say anything. You just have to get used to kind of explaining your thought process and your problem solving out loud. And that's what makes you stand out as an applicant, I guess, is them seeing, as Kitty pointed out, how they can teach you going forward and learning these kind of new topics. So you said that at interview you cover things which perhaps you're not familiar with at A level. Is there anything particular that when you did arrive at Oxford and start taking your course, is there any kind of new topic that really stood out to you that you really enjoyed or was your favourite?
I think maths is sort of split into two halves. You have the applied maths is just it's A level but more. So you go into calculus, you go into just more in different variables. It's sort of like as if you're doing further maths in that respect. Whereas the pure is a lot more logic based. It's sort of a bit more like the maths challenge. It challenges you. It's problem solving, but it's completely different. And like you can specialize if you want to do more pure in the second and the third year. You can just do that if you choose or not. So I like a bit of both. I think a bit of a variety, really. I don't have a favorite topic.
So you say about choosing modules for your second year. I assume that you're doing that now, or you have already. Do you have like a 50-50 between pure and applied mathematics in mind, or do you sway one way or the other?
I think I'm definitely going to go more towards like applied maths. Like throughout like this year, I think I've definitely preferred it. Kind of like, I think maybe it's just because I was used to that kind of side of maths during A level. But I just think it's more interesting as well. It's maybe like more probability and statistics next year, like that kind of side of maths.
It's a real comeback for all those people who say, "Oh, but how are you going to use maths in real life?"
Yeah, as I think I'll pick a bit more of a 50-50. I like some of the new, but I wouldn't want to just do new and forget old. So I think just a bit to give myself a open variety, really. That's my plan.
Oh, that's fair enough. Well, I hope it goes well for you both. So it interested me to hear you say about how the lectures are, quite a different and new experience as somebody coming into Oxbridge. What are your interviews like? Because I've never been into a maths interview. I mean, I'm a modern languages and linguistics student. So ours is very much, we get information thrown at us and then we walk away. Is yours, do you get a chance to do practice problems in the lecture? Is it like guided, or can you just sit and go over slides at your desk?
Yeah, so they're not really, they kind of just speak at us, to be honest. And you can just write down notes or just follow along. Sometimes they're interactive, so maybe a lecturer would like ask us to think of like, it's only happened once or twice, but like an example of something that would obey this rule. Yeah, so they're not really that interactive for maths.
I think they're just like a lesson. I think they're going over the notes. They're just teaching, and they do teach you reasonably well. They write things down. It's generally, we have a massive room with 24 whiteboards. They get
Whoa! Did you say?
They're so cool. They like spin. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, they're really.
What, can you like rotate?
You can pull the whiteboards on. It's mad.
That is the best part. And
yeah.
YouTube videos online of old past lectures that you can check out on the Oxford channel, that you can at least see the room, and it is quite impressive. And they managed to fill up roughly 20 of those whiteboards in a lecture usually. And it's
wow,
crazy.
That's a lot of info.
But they write the notes and they explain it, and they do it to varying abilities. Some of them are brilliant and some are good. But yeah,
I'd say generally the maths lecturers are like really good.
So I was going to ask if you had like a favourite lecturer.
Oh,
I think it's my
I'd
favourite.
say maybe James Martin for probability. He's really good, and James Sparks for dynamics. They're both really good.
Why are those lecturers like your favourite? What do they do that makes them stand out?
I feel like the way that they just explain the problem, like explain what's going on, kind of, they give us enough time to write everything down, as well as like kind of emphasising the points that are the most important, which some kind of lecturers kind of make it seem like it's all equally important, where sometimes it's really not. Yeah, I feel like the way as well, kind of they use some practical things. So I remember James Martin, he would kind of do that thing at the end of, he would like have like a box of all the Oxford colleges at the end of every lecture and pick two out at random to pick the board, and like thinking about the probabilities that would go along with that sort of thing. So it's just kind of like making it a bit more engaging in the lectures.
I think it seems like they know what they're doing and they know how to teach as well as, I mean, some of them, I guess, would just know the content and be new to teaching, but it seemed like they knew how to teach as well as knowing the content they're teaching.
I guess that's extra helpful for you guys.
Yeah.
So do these lectures and the things that you learn then, do they tie into the problem sheets and the work that you get set for your small class teaching, like your tutorials?
Yeah, I think the lectures, I mean, each problem sheet is on 2 lectures worth of materials. So I think uni life is mainly you go to lectures, you do the problem sheets, and every so often you have tutorials on, and the tutorials are just going over the problem sheets. So it's a case of you get 2 lectures and then you look at the content and then you attempt to try and do the problem sheet. And that's effectively how it goes.
Yeah.
You use the word attempt. If you ever like not finished one, is that a common thing?
Yeah, you don't need to finish them to do. I mean, they don't necessarily expect you to get it. If you get it full marks, that means the problem sheets are too easy in that respect. The whole point of them is they're meant to challenge you. I think varying different problem sheets have different difficulties. They're not really standardized, but yeah.
Yeah, like the tutors expect you to like write something like, I don't understand this question, can we go through it in the tutorial? Or like at least have an attempt, which may not be right, but have a go at it so they can like discuss it with you in the tutorial.
That's really helpful to know, because I don't know too much about maths at Oxbridge, but one of the things I do always hear is that, oh, it's so hard and like it's such a step up. And to know that you're not expected to be like an all-rounded genius and that they are just teaching you, that is really reassuring for anyone watching this, I'm sure. So I'm trying to picture it, kind of how many lectures, tutorials, and problem sheets do you have to go through in like a week at Oxford?
Yeah, so we have 2 lectures every weekday. This is in first year. We had a 9 a.m. every single day, and then followed by a 10 a.m. every single day, which is, it's nice that it's like a constant routine every single day. It makes your day, like days, a lot easier. So that would mean we'd have about 5 problem sheets each week, plus 2 or 3 tutorials a week, which would last about an hour each. Yeah.
And yeah, that is effectively your week. And in second year, it cuts down. You actually get less problem sheets, but they become bigger. And I think the problem sheets, they usually take, I mean, if you go to lectures from 9 to 11, you spend the rest of the day on a problem sheet. And that's kind of each day and it's pretty formulaic, but I guess if you're a mathematician, that's the sort of thing you might like, having a bit of a routine and things.
Yeah, it could be worse. I hear at Cambridge that they have lectures on a Saturday, so I would count yourselves lucky. What's the longest you think that either of you have spent on a problem sheet?
I don't know, because like if I was doing like a really tricky problem sheet, I'd probably do it in like little bits over the span of like several days, and kind of maybe leave it aside for like a few hours and do a different problem sheet for a while. But I'd say kind of the average problem sheet would probably take like 5 or 6 hours, and then you need to write up in neat, as like I normally write mine up in neat so my tutors like actually know what I was thinking, otherwise it'd be like a wreck of like scribbles. Yes, like 5 hours on average for a problem sheet, but then the tricky one could be like 8 or something. It varies quite a lot, I think.
Yeah, I think it varies from, I think 2 is some of the easiest ones to about 8 or 9 for the longest ones, but usually you'll be able to get them done within the time that they set. I mean, you'll do, sometimes there'll be issues with the lectures not being quite, so like you only have a couple of days to do them, but then other times you get a week, and it's usually if you plan and do just a problem sheet a day and some for the time left over the weekend, you'll be fine and not have massive crises.
So you can both still have like a bit of a social life on the side, like you're not just in your room all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you can get away with, if you work in the day, you can take evenings off for relaxing, partying, whatever.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other, really.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot with STEM subjects that often the people teaching you will say, well, forget all that you've learned. You're going to have to learn that again, this time in a more advanced way. And you have to kind of reconceptualize many different things. Has that happened? Has that been a particular challenge to you?
Not really, I think. In some, at least the applied maths is not forget what you learned, to sort of build on what you learned. And the pure maths is rigorously prove what you learned because what you learned at A level, they often brushed over some of the details. It's just going back, doing A level maths, but going into detail and all the little bits that was sort of skimmed over.
So it's figuring out not just that things work, but now why things work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I guess some A level they'll do a statement and they won't prove it, or they won't necessarily, you ask a question and they might not explain that, they don't know. And I think is doing A level maths, but yeah, a lot more rigor, I think is the right word.
So I guess before I let you guys go, I have one final question. It's a bit of a big one, but thinking about if you were talking to your past self maybe, or somebody who's thinking of applying to maths at Oxford or perhaps at Cambridge, though I know it's slightly different and they do like more admissions tests, for example. What is one thing that you wish you had known that you could give as a piece of advice to somebody looking to apply?
I think like the way kind of preparation for like the MAT, which is the entry exam for Oxford, and interviews, I think making sure to revise well for the MAT, so using the past papers that you can find online. And I think, I'm not sure if I think they have mark schemes as well. So using those as well, like if you have free periods at school, kind of like use your spare time for those. And like what we were saying earlier about like interview experience, like make sure you are like engaging and like not staying quiet, even if what you think you're like, even what you're thinking, if you think it's like not that good, just say it anyway, because being quiet is going to be a lot worse than saying something that may be wrong but has like a good kind of thought process behind it.
And I think practice, find a problem solving question and just practice saying it out loud, even if you're just talking to yourself. Work out loud as the practice is the best. And just problem solving questions are helpful, even for the MAT, for the interviews. So just do as much of those as you can. And
yeah, the sort of questions, on the UK Maths Challenge, do you remember those?
Yeah,
you can find some online. So those sort of questions are the sort of things that like you need that kind of thinking for the interviews.
Yeah, the interviews, they don't require any more than, I think our ones didn't require more than GCSE knowledge. It's just problem solving.
Yeah.
So UK Maths Challenge, they're a good start. The MAT questions, they're also a good start, I think.
Yeah, so I guess if you're a student who has been entered for those or has done those, that's a good indicator that you're in a position to be able to apply for maths at Oxford or at Cambridge. But I know that there are kind of limited past papers and also very limited kind of solutions for all those papers. I think they only do, I know for me, I could only access the past 2 years answers when I was doing the language aptitude test. But the good thing is, it's not game over, because on the Oxbridge formula, we go through the solutions for every single past paper that's out there. So as I said, please check the link below. If you found this interview helpful and would like loads more information on the application process, then please hit that subscribe, and you can also hit the notification so you're the first to know about fresh new content and all that jazz. We have loads of detailed information on Oxbridge and real student experiences like Kitty's and Alex's on our blog, so we can support your next steps as much as we possibly can. So thank you both for joining us today. I really hope our viewers have learned as much about maths at Oxford as I certainly have. I really want to come along to one of your lectures now and see those cool rotating whiteboards, if anything else. Anyway, I'll see you guys again soon, but thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.